Christmas at Silver Dollar City is probably one of the best times to visit the park, but it's also one of the hardest times to work there. Here's what it was like for me to work at Silver Dollar City during Christmas. I love visiting Silver Dollar City at Christmas. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's probably my favorite time of the year to be at the park. There is just so much to do. It's got two of the best Christmas productions you're ever going to see at any park. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol is an absolutely fantastic production. They've got snow in the theater. They've got live music. It's so good, it's honestly probably worth the price of admission alone. Then they add on It's a Wonderful Life, which is another great production. If you ever are thinking about going, those two shows should make your decision for you. They're great. There's also a Living Nativity. They've got a special show for kids. Great parade. It's not real long, but it's completely lit up and illuminated. It stars Rudolph and Bumble the Snowman. They typically run the parade twice. So here's a little trick for you. During the first parade, that's when most of the people cram up to go see them. Skip it then. Go ride rides, because that's when the lines get real short. You can catch a ride really quick and then come back in an hour and a half, 2 hours later. They'll do the parade again. Watch the second parade when you're not having to fight everybody for a spot. And stay for closing, because that's when the lines for all the rides and everything else go down. That's your best ride time. That is as long as it doesn't get too cold. There are several of the rides, like the roller coasters, that if it gets down into the low 30s, they do have to close some of them. But if you're careful and watch the weather, you should be able to plan around that. They have a giant musical tree that flashes and synchronizes and dances to the music. They light the whole park up. There's a lot of work that goes into it. We actually start putting the Christmas lights up at the end of July. There's a whole crew that works on them practically year-round, putting them up, taking them down, checking all the strings to make them work. But they're not the only ones that work on the lights. Most areas also are responsible for putting up some lights of their own. On the train, we actually had to put up our own lights on the break room and on the fence that went alongside the docking platform and do some of that other decoration work ourselves. On the trains, our engineers are actually the ones who put all the lights on. And they spend a couple weeks getting all the lights on all the cars, on the engines, getting the generators hooked up, because there's actually secondary generators on the trains just for the lights. They're actually attached to the very front of the first car. So all the engineer has to do is turn around from the engineer's compartment and he can turn them on or off. The train has a show at Christmas. Instead of stopping and getting robbed, you actually get out into the woods and you stop to hear Grandpa tell the true story of Christmas. And Grandpa shares, they've got lights and music to go along with it. We turn the whole thing into the sing-along steam train and play Christmas music on the way out and back and sing along and have a whole lot of fun. If you're at Silver Dollar City, you've got to ride the train. The lines on the train sometimes can look absolutely huge. There have been times when I worked on the train that not only was the station full, not only was outside of the depot full with a switchback line, and it would then go up the hill, but if you look at a map of Silver Dollar City, you'll see up top of the hill by the train station, there's another spot where it turns, and it has this corkscrew that then goes all the way down the hill, and I saw that line cross the bridge, go all the way down the corkscrew, and end up down at the bottom of the hill. It was huge. Your first look at when you see that is, oh my goodness, it'll take forever. But we do something different on the train during Christmas as well. Christmas is the one time that we would actually put 2 full trains on the tracks again. Years ago, they used to run 2 trains during the summer. Now the only time you'll see them do it is at Christmas time. When there's 2 trains running, there is a full train leaving every 10 minutes out of that station. And they will time it, and they will cram and pack those trains full. No 2 people on a seat during Christmas. It's 4 or 5 adults every bench. It also means that even if that line's down at the bottom of the hill, you're looking at the most at a 30 to 40 minute wait. We moved that line. We were hopping at Christmas and we had it down to a science where we could just get people in, on, and out. The way we do that, though, is people would get a certain station at Christmas and they would stay there. Most of the year, you would have a conductor that would stay at the station for one ride, and then he'd hop on the train for another ride, and then he'd hop off and maybe take a break or work the station again. At Christmas time, we don't do that. There would be certain people that were assigned to work the station, and they were crowd control, they were station gate entry, they were safety spiel. That's pretty much where they stayed all night. You would also have certain conductors that were on the train, and that's typically where I was, sitting on the back of the caboose all night long. It could be 4 or 5 hours of sitting on there, maybe a very quick bathroom break, but that was about it. You'd pull into the station, let everybody off of the train, wave goodbye to them, step off, go up, greet the people at the station, open the gates, let them onto the train, check empty seats, close the gates, hop back on the back, and off you went again. And you would just stay on that train all night. We would actually bring in our dinner, and we put it in an ice chest or something at the back of the train. And then when we stopped at that show, we'd sit back there and eat. And you'd just stay there all night. We'd get to hear Grandpa over and over. There'd be times you'd be sitting at the woods listening to Grandpa tell the story, and that tree that I told you about at the beginning with the flashing dancing lights and the really loud music, you would hear it all the way out in the woods sometimes, and it would interrupt Grandpa. So at one point you're looking at Grandpa and you're hearing music and it would be a little funny to have both going at the same time. Probably the hardest part about working at Christmas was just dealing with the tremendous crowds. So here's a couple hints. If you want to go to Silver Dollar City at Christmas, don't go on a Saturday. Ever. Never. Don't do it. It's packed. You will be shoulder to shoulder the whole time, and it's just miserable. Fridays and Sundays are a little better, but they can still be pretty busy. If at all possible, go on a Wednesday or a Thursday. The crowds will be much lighter. You'll get to see and do everything, and you'll enjoy it. Saturdays are to be avoided at all costs, and Fridays aren't far behind because Fridays can be really busy. That week between Christmas and New Year's, forget it. It's just ugly every single day. And when you get crowds like that, people get cranky. They're there to be happy, and they're cranky, and they're miserable, and by golly, I'm having fun. Yeah, it's really that bad. It's amazing how many people would get in line for the train, and you would have one person try to save 15 places. It doesn't work that way. Don't do it. They get up to the front, oh yeah, I'm coming with 15 people. Are they with you? No, you're not getting into the depot then. There is no saving seats. And people will get mad because we wouldn't let them essentially cut in line. You've got all these other people that have waited 30 minutes and you don't want to wait. That's not fair to everybody in line. We would have this all the time. It would get so bad sometimes that our people running crowd control would actually go get our shotguns that we would use during the robberies and stand out by the gate with the shotgun on their shoulder just to let people know, hey, we mean business. Now, they weren't loaded. We didn't have anything in them. It's just a simple way to say, knock it off and be good. Obey the rules. We would give people the benefit of the doubt. If they had little kids that had to go to the bathroom or somebody was getting a snack or a drink, although we had a snack bar in the station so they could do it there. So we tried to be reasonable. It's the one time when people really get cranky. The other thing that got me was occasionally you would have people get off the train and they would be mad because we dared to share the Christmas story with them. Okay. You're at a theme park that all over the place it's talking about Christmas. We have a living nativity, which should be kind of a giveaway. Grandpa does a very simple retelling of the birth of Jesus, and they get mad about it. Sometimes people just want to be cranky. And that was probably the hardest part, was just dealing with the attitude sometimes. The other thing that was really hard sometimes was the cold. If you're not from Missouri, it can get pretty cold here. Not as cold as, say, Minnesota or whatever, but we have our times where it gets down to 0. I've been on that train a couple times when it was in the teens. And that's cold when you're riding in an open air, unenclosed space with a constant wind blowing because the train's moving. It's cold! There's no place to put a heater in the back. You're just kind of bundled up and along for the ride. You couldn't put on the ski mask because you're having to be a conductor and tell people. We could put on winter hats. I actually had a really neat winter hat that said Season's Greetings and had the ear flaps on it to keep warm. And I would wear that during Christmas, and a few layers of clothing underneath and 2 pairs of insulated socks. It was still cold. But even then, most of the time, it was a lot of fun. People are there to have a good time. They're there to enjoy the lights in the holidays. And when you've got 5.5 million lights around the park and so much more, it's a great place to go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got a few good hints about visiting Silver Dollar City, as well as a little bit of an idea of what it was like to work out there. If you're enjoying this, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button right there. Or you could even go to that video right there that's playing for you. And I almost forgot, I've got a Patreon now. So if you're really enjoying these, there's a link right there for my Patreon. So please hit that. It'll allow me to buy some better equipment, do better quality videos. I'd really appreciate your support that way. Thank you again for watching. I'd love to hear your comments below.